Do you guys want to be part of a little experiment?
Always. I mean, I always say yes. But I'm trying to learn
I'll
how to be
explain
like, first tell me the
I'll
experiment.
explain the experiment and then you can decide. But so part of like this journey that I've learned, and again, you can keep this in the podcast or not, depending, I guess, how it goes. But I've talked with a lot of people, and those blockages that I was talking about will come up. And like for you, I really sense performance. For you, when you were talking, it's like the religion is really there. What I've done with people, and this has probably been maybe 50 people or so, just over, it was super scary and uncomfortable and like hard in the beginning to like even know how to communicate it right. But I've done this now with probably like 50 people. When I sense those things, I have found that, and again, this is just the language I use because it makes sense, but when I pray over them, it like releases. So it can be kind of like an intense experience. Like there's usually what happens after, not like directly after always, but within like the first day or so, there's like these physical expulsions that sometimes come up. So sometimes it can be like diarrhea, vomiting, rashes, things like that. But I know how prayer often was forced onto people who grew up in the religion. And so I just always want to ask for permission. And if that's something you want to try, I'm happy to do it. If that's like not really what I want to do, just know you won't offend me.
You mean like legitimately on the podcast praying for us right now?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I have to touch you. I know it sounds weird, but that's usually part of it.
You know, you want to do it?
Do you want to do it?
I don't normally say no to anything.
I don't normally say no to anything.
I have to hear consensual yeses in order to...
All right.
I'm interested. Who are you praying to?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
So it's something...
Maybe Zach's right. Maybe you are more like a medium.
No, so because interesting. It's something you're tapping into that you don't even really fully understand.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still learning it, but it's like I get this sense, and it's like, it's really weird. Like it'll be like, I'll sense it and I'll get different cues. So like for performance, I usually get this feeling of like, almost like out of my body, and I get panicky feelings sort of from it. And then sometimes if I can't differentiate what it is, usually the person will say it. So like it was funny because in the beginning of the podcast, I was kind of sensing that. And then you started saying the word performance. You said it like 3 different times. And I was like, okay, cool. I know what that is. Or like, I got it loud and clear. And then it was more just recently where I sensed more of that religion one. And then you said that word and it just connected of like, oh, okay, that's what it is.
It's interesting because you bring up like, I bring up this retreat I went on again, and it's an out of body and cosmos traveling experience. And you have to face certain things. And I faced a lot of our podcasts during that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really fucking scary. And I kind of experienced a part of what we're doing on this podcast and what my experience has been with our guests and me alone and everything. And it was haunting experience and also very healing. Mm-hmm. Ever since I've been back from my retreat, I've had a lot more performative weight than I normally have felt before. Mm-hmm. And which is very common when you like go off to do these things, as you kind of come back and have to you like reintegrate back in and whatnot. And so it makes a lot of sense to me that you would be feeling that because I feel it and I'm sensing it. And it's not like a bad thing, but it's more of, I'm so hyper aware of how much I don't want performative weight to be a block. Mm-hmm. It has been a block since I was a kid and it just presents itself in so many different ways. Mm-hmm. And so now it's a different block than what it's like. There's less ego. Mm-hmm. So sitting in this chair feels way more like, I feel almost more present in it. And that makes me more nervous at times.
Yes,
you know,
100%. And that's a common quality that I find with performance as well, because like how I describe these blockages, they're so interesting. Like if you picture that each one of us are like, you guys remember pipe cleaners? Like, did you ever play with those as a kid? You know? So it's like, if we're each one of those like beautiful pipe cleaner masterpieces, there's these thorns that come along and they just get stuck in there. And it's really easy to think, oh, that's part of who I am. But it's something that's completely outside that you need to like, or that it's nice when you get it removed. And that's how I've seen those blockages work, is like performance is something that's just integrated on you and attached to you, but it's not who you are. So it's like, that's what I've found is like after I pray or do whatever it is you want to call it, it's just a way of removing that. So that's why I've never done it like in a recording setting to where, again, even if this doesn't go on the podcast, it might just be interesting to see if you guys notice anything, if you want to try with the experiment.
And I'm like talking about like, I am a believer once again in my life over the last 2 years when it comes to literally being open to everything.
Right.
I don't think I've allowed somebody to pray for me or over me since I left the church, which is like, I think
you probably let Dad pray over you in like some of your,
but like laying hands, that's like a really big connection. And what's really weird is I had a dream vision of, before I went on my retreat, of my dad in a dream with me, and he used his hands in a sense of prayer. While I was at the retreat, I had a moment of like hearing other people's process of like dealing with their trauma, and I put my hands in the air, and I was just like, and I've like, that was so like triggering for me because this like the idea of hands on prayer. And so in many ways, like vulnerably, I would say like, I would love to do it with you, not because of maybe what your experience is, but mainly as an opportunity for me to face some of my triggers in a way more of like, like get that nervous system excited about like facing those sort of, things that like I'm honestly like kind of turned against.
Sure.
But I've learned recently, like opening myself up to these spaces that don't have to do with like evangelical Christianity, that are just what it is like totally, like I believe in crystals now. So
cool.
Yeah, I know. It's like weird for me to even say it.
I
Like,
know.
I get it. Like I've seen it.
Yeah.
I'm open to it. I'll let you know if I have diarrhea tomorrow.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. To see what people like say back, what they have.
Yeah. Performative energy and religious weight.
Sure. Yeah.
Can you just hold our hands?
I'll go around behind you if that's okay. Is that okay?
Yeah. Good luck.
Okay. I'll work my way around.
It might be easier maybe to go your way.
Yeah.
Yahweh, baby.
Yeah.
And we'll leave this in. We won't leave the probably prayer part in because it's just, I don't know.
It'll just be interesting. Yeah. Interesting to see. Okay.
Let's see the spirit work through me.
I don't know. Doing okay?
Oh yeah.
Do you have any body sensations?
Absolutely.
What did you have?
Well, I think I'm just reflecting on how much I've been open. I'm calling it, I guess, craniosacral work, that our nervous systems and the ways we hold trauma and the ways we have these like triggers.
Yeah, sorry for the maze.
Are, as you get back to your seat now, the sensations I'm feeling is more of like it's triggering. And I don't know, like in my journey and whatnot, it's that learning how to be open to these things and then like jumping in, right? It's just like, why not? Like it doesn't have to be like any rules or whatever. But that if you would have done that at the beginning of the podcast, I know for a fact I would have had that weight lifted a little bit.
I know.
Just because it's putting pressure on the pulse, right? It's like, yo, I can sense that we're having some performative energy here, or whatever you're feeling. And it's like, and it's like, yeah, let's fuck this shit up. Let's get a little weird with it. And that like getting weird normally makes things feel a lot less tense.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what I was feeling the whole time, was just like, yeah, this is really weird, but we've never done this. And that's like part of healing, is being open to all of it. And I also think it's really important we really get slammed by Christians on our cast, like really slammed. And I think this is an opportunity to show how open we really are and not hating. Yeah. We don't hate Christians. Like we don't actually, I guess I kind of hate religion, but like we really are like, the whole point of this podcast is to create a safe space for you to feel safe, for you to express your gifts, and for us to be open to your experience and your healing. And if that means using the name of Jesus or the angel Gabriel in your spiritual experiences, I would really fucking hope me and Zach are open to that. Yeah. And I've gotten to a place of healing to allow you to feel safe enough to give us that gift. And if I wasn't open to receiving it, I know you're the person that would be like, that's great.
Yeah. No, and that's what's hard about like navigating. It's like, I never want to be re-triggering or bringing up trauma for people, because I know what that feels like. I know what that feels like to have somebody go, oh, I'll pray for you, and so that's why it's like, I always just want to make sure I get consent and like, and I'm honest of like, I don't know how to explain it. I just know I've seen enough patterns to know kind of what the process is.
Well, thank you for that. It feels really good, to be honest.
Good. How are you doing over there?
I'm chill. Okay. I'm fine. Yeah.
We're very different people. I literally agree with, in my experience, for me, part of my healing has been putting myself into situations that are literally mimicking worship in prayer groups in a completely non-religious way,
Mhm.
to where I'm like having to sit in something that I actually love being, right? Sharing that spirituality with one another, laying hands on one another. It is super wooey and weird and brings back so much traumas from my past, but like redefining that, being like, no, I don't have to allow this amazing human connection with one another that's really vulnerable. And then like, yeah, whatever the nervous system is doing, whatever craniosacral like energy work, I've been doing that more and I've experienced that more. And yeah, I think it's all very beautiful.
It feels like, and it sounds like a power of intention, where it's you have an intention to heal, you have an intention to pray, whatever your intention is, and then the touching and it's like a transferring of energy, almost in a way. And this facade that we were raised with, that you have to use it in like the name of Jesus. So that's the only thing that I'm like triggered by is the way it comes off, because it feels so Christian.
I know. And that's what's so like weird. It's like that again, that's not even really like language, like rebuke in the name of Jesus. I don't say that regularly like in my life, but for whatever reason, when I do that, that's just like what I feel like I need to say it that way.
Interesting.
And I don't have a reason why or like know why it's and so yeah, I should have said that beforehand, because it's like, duh, of course that can be triggering, those phrases, but I don't know why. But like that's like, it's like unexplainable, because like you can ask my husband. I've never I don't talk like that in real life.
Totally.
Like rebuke you. I don't know.
Yeah. It's kind of like, for majority of your life, those words were used to bring up your spirituality, that now you're either like relearning how to bring up that spirituality, but still it's that these are the things that bring it out of you, that connect you to that divine.
Yeah. And that's why I don't get super like held up in language anymore, where it's like, that might be the way I say it. But if somebody takes it as like intention, like I love that way of viewing it. Like I think that it's not my job to make language or to say this is the only way that makes sense or the only way to do it. Like my job is just to like show up, and then however, like you'll take from it what you need to. And so it's like what we call it or what we do. It's like, of course, I don't want to be triggering with things, but I can't always help that either. But it's like, call it what you want. Or I just know, even though I can't explain it, I've done that enough with enough people to know that like something about it works. And where like people have given me like feedback that like they'll have some type of physical expulsion of some sort within like the 24 hours. And then the other thing that is an interesting commonality is like that next week after tends to be a really hard week, where certain things that prick on that performance or like religion, it'll almost be laughable on how specific it is that comes up, because again, these are just the words I use to describe it. It's like, as we're walking into who we're created to be, the darkness comes and wants to like keep us there and keep us back. And again, that's just the language I use. You can use whatever. So it seems like it tries really hard. That's kind of what I was talking with you in the beginning, where like it'll come out sometimes in technology where certain things will go weird with tech stuff, or it'll just be kind of ironic, like just weird situations. So just know the next week might feel kind of hard in weird ways. But then after that, it's kind of like that block is gone and you have a name for it now to go, it's not me having all of this high energy or like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous for this. It's like, what are the lies that performance is telling me? Performance typically tells the lies of you're not doing it right. Like you're not good enough. Things like that. Religion is a confusing one because it like 99% of what it says is true. And then it twists the last little bit. So that can be kind of confusing, the lies it tells. But for me, it's been helpful to have those names to be like, this isn't Shea. This is like shame. That shame has been a big one for me. Shame has been telling me that I'm not good enough. And just being able to differentiate that has been helpful.
You ever done any IFS therapy?
That
sounds kind
actually,
of IFS-y.
Yeah, it is kind of similar. I haven't done it myself, but I know a bit about it from like learning and stuff. So,
like whether I think it's like one of the ways I think of space and time is that there's really no order. It's like chaos and order at the same time. And so I feel like you doing that, feeling, kind I don't know, just that intuition, right? To pray for somebody. And I think then like fulfilling that and doing that, then people telling you what they experience. What's interesting is that I've been experiencing some prickly shit about performance this whole last week and since our last episode. So I almost feel like I'm going to have less prickliness now.
It was more of a lead up.
Well, it's just more like I'm just on your level. I really am okay with the woo-wee shit. I'm starting to get more okay with the woo-wee shit again. And you even using the name of Jesus, sure, the initial trigger is like, ugh.
Yeah.
But what comes right after that is like, Nathan, you just chill, bro. Just chill and accept and surrender to this thing called humanity. And like we're all finding our own place in it and how to like, and we don't really let people put hands on us unless we're like giving a hug or shaking a hand, right? And so hands are like really powerful energy providers.
Why you wrap them when someone passes.
Right. Yeah. Like in anatomy and all that, right? You wrap up the hands. And so, and I think it is a vulnerable thing and needing to ask for consent at all. I think what's interesting is like, yeah, my dad did the same thing. He'd ask people for consent, but his hands were already on them before they said yes. You know, it was like, can I pray for you right now? Jesus coming. I'm just like, whoa. And here we are.
Yeah.
And I think that like, but I would never sit here and say the power of prayer isn't real. I just know that one of my traumas that came from leaving the Christian faith was like, I like totally stopped praying.
Yeah.
And believing in I was like, and anything that had to do like similar as what you're saying with your husband, like I like hated God. I hated spirituality. It was like dark. I was like, we're going to do opposite. We're going full blown atheism and we're just going to, and it didn't last long, right? Because it's like, it's just like having awareness of it all around us. And I think just recently in my life with these retreats I've gone on is it's forced me to be more open to like healing and humanity. And so thank you for sharing your humanity with us. And it's amazing to see that your softness and your empathy and like who you are as a person and this character that you're displaying here for us today. And like, it feels very authentic and you feel to be really you really are in tune with things and people and relationship to things. And so I have no doubt that you're in tune with a power that's like, you know, your hands and your voice and your prayer is powerful. So thank you for using it with us.